You know, in the old Soviet Union, Clay, they would go to extreme lengths to change the record. They would use a razor. This was known during the purges under Stalin. They would remove names from official rolls, and they thought whiteout looked a little sloppy, so they would remove names with razor blade. This was known in the ranks of the secret intelligence service that they had, and what was it, the NKVD, and then it became the KGB, and it went through various iterations. But they would do this because they were obviously trying to change reality after the fact. They were rewriting history. They removed people from photographs. They would do things to alter the record of reality as it suited their political needs. Now, that's something that you might think about in the context of the Soviets and say, well, of course they did. They were a totalitarian society. What if Clay and I sat here, everybody, and told you that you're starting to see a little more of that stuff going on here with regard to some of the politicians that Democrats have elected into office who are clearly physically incapable of doing the jobs that they are assigned, that they have won through elections. A Washington Post reporter has now admitted that he passed along a misquote of Senator John Fetterman, and that this was reported on. And basically what happened here, Clay, you actually have the quotes, but the allegation, and it's not, I think it's reality, it's not even an allegation, the transgression here was that Fetterman said a bunch of stuff like we would assume Fetterman would say it, very confused. And they just gave a new quote as if Fetterman isn't a very confused, bumbling buffoon. To tell us what happened with the exact wording here.
Yeah, let me play. I think we've got the audio so you guys can hear what John Fetterman said, and then I'm going to share with you what the Washington Post politics reporter said that John Fetterman said.
Is it staggering? Is it a staggering responsibility that that the head of a bank could literally crash our economy? It's astonishing. That's like if you have, and they also realize is that now they have a guaranteed way to be saved by how, So it's isn't it appropriate that this kind of control should be more stricter to prevent this kind of thing from going? Or should we just go on and start bailing and sailing whoever bank, regardless of how their conduct is? I'll give you an example. The Republicans want to give a work requirement for SNAP. For a hungry family has to have this kind of penalties, or some kinds of working required. Shouldn't you have a working requirement after we sail your bank with billions of your bank? Because they seem to be more preoccupied than SNAP and requirements for works for hungry people, but not about protecting the taxpayers, that will bail no matter whatever does about a bank to crash it. Sure.
Okay, you just heard that. Virtually unintelligible. That is, congratulations, Pennsylvania. You're duly elected senator, in theory, for the next 6 years, John Fetterman. Here is what the Washington Post reported. This is a direct quote from Jeff Stein, who has since deleted this. This was Jeff Stein saying, here's what Fetterman said. Shouldn't you have a working requirement after we bail out your bank? Republicans seem to be more preoccupied with SNAP requirements for hungry people than protecting taxpayers that have to bail out these banks. That is the direct quote from the Washington Post of their claim as to what Fetterman just said that you all heard yourself.
Clay, to be fair, I think you're forgetting that, as the astute observer of politics Joe Scarborough pointed out, Fetterman's rhetoric is inspired by Winston Churchill and Abraham Lincoln, or at least his life story and his overcoming of challenges. So if they have to doctor the wording that he's using here, it's in Churchillian fashion. The legend is more important than the reality. That's what we're going to be told about John Fetterman. It's still amazing that this guy, every time we talk about Fetterman, there's a part of me that is in a little bit of disbelief, but also for everyone out there, this is your reminder. What does it mean to have early voting, mail-in, ground game, all these things? I mean, specifically to Pennsylvania, a few of those apply, some of them don't. But what does it mean when you have a Democrat machine in a state that is much better than the Republican machine, which is the case in Pennsylvania? Everybody in Pennsylvania politics will tell you that. It means they can elect anybody.
That's right.
I used to have a math teacher who said, don't sit there like a bump on a log, if you didn't answer the question fast enough. Democrats can elect a bump on a log. It doesn't matter. They can elect an inanimate object at this point if they want to. They elected a dead guy, didn't they? I think it was in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, in the state legislative races, they elected a dead guy. Well, you might be wondering, okay, how does that Washington Post quote come to be? That is the definition of fake news. You heard what Fetterman said, and then you heard me read what the Washington Post told its readers that Fetterman had said. Well, Fox News has got a good story up at foxnews.com. The true story is Fetterman's office has doctored several of his quotes to make him sound more coherent. They then will send out these quotes to media and claim that Fetterman has actually said that as opposed to what he actually said. And this reporter from the Washington Post said that he had gotten that quote from Fetterman's office, failed to verify it with the video. This Washington Post reporter, to his credit, said, "That was my fault. I deleted the tweet once the words in the quote were proven to be inaccurate." But that is what's going on. Fetterman's office is cleaning up his quotes and regularly sending them out. According to Fox News, they are drastically altering his comments to try to make him seem as if he is competent to do the job. So they are not actually sharing what he is truly saying. And they're basically, and look, if they wanted to put out a written statement, that's one thing, but they are putting these in quotation marks and sending it out to everyone as a representative sample of what he is saying. Now, look, the reality is Fetterman can't do the job. Fetterman is not physically capable of doing this job. Neither is Dianne Feinstein, who is still in the office.
Can I offer an idea? I didn't want to interrupt the flow with Feinstein, which the whole Feinstein thing. The Feinstein thing is also just deeply sad, and there's something really wrong and debased and humiliating about Democrats pretending like this is okay. It's not okay what they're doing. I mean, at a basic human level, to put forward this woman who we can all see is she's in her final stage of life and is not able to be a United States senator. But Clay, maybe they think the job is different, though, to the point about how I don't think that journalists think their job is really to speak truth to power. I think they're in on the con. I think that Democrat journalists think that they're activists and they get to pretend to be something else. I think that with whether it's Fetterman or Feinstein, it's just, will the vote go the way they need it to, even if they have to shovel the person in there on a litter or a wheelchair or whatever? If the answer is yes, I don't think they really care. I guess they don't expect leadership or debate or anything like that to be a part of being a senator anymore.
I think there's a couple of things. I think you're right, Buck. Basically, you're a rubber stamp. They want to get to 51, and Fetterman helps them get there. I think there's a couple of things. One, this is indicative, I think, of the extreme laziness that exists in many political reporters, because this guy didn't do the due diligence to actually confirm that the quote was accurate. He could have watched the video himself. He didn't do it. He just took the quote that was provided to him, emailed to him by the campaign, and put it on his quote as if he were doing the job. But, Buck, note what's going on here. Several Democrats have called for Dianne Feinstein to be replaced. Do you know why they're doing that? Because her term is up in 2024 anyway, and there are better, more zealous advocates of Democrat perspectives that are ready to replace her. And California is a safely blue state. Do you know why they're not calling for Fetterman to be replaced too? Because both of them cannot do their job. If Fetterman is replaced, then there's a brand new election in Pennsylvania in 2024. And there would be a new toss-up battleground state that Democrats would have to defend, right? Because I don't think Fetterman could run. I don't think he could win again at this point. Maybe he could. but they don't want to give Republicans the opportunity to replace Fetterman, even though he can't do the job. They want him to serve this entire 6-year term so they can maintain their grip on power. It's just interesting to think about this Feinstein versus Fetterman example. Neither one of these individuals, Buck, are able to do the job, but Feinstein, there's no political cost to replacing her. In fact, they believe they can replace Feinstein with a more effective Democrat spokesperson and version from California. They're afraid in 24 they might lose, because remember, they're already having to defend one Senate seat. They would be afraid that they might lose, so they won't replace Fetterman. That's the story here.